back to Bridging Philly, connecting our communities on the issues that matter to you.
Welcome back to Bridging Philly. Philadelphia is celebrating its first inaugural Philly Jazz Month. Shara Howard checks in with a local jazz expert to get the deets on where all the performances will be on this latest Shara in the City.
This moment, I'm in one of my happy places. My favorite spot in the city, Chris's Jazz Cafe. Lights are low, there's a candle on every table, and my favorite drink in hand, a gin and ginger. Yeah, I love jazz. And this week on Shara in the City, I'll introduce you to one of Philly's best kept secrets, Kim Tucker, who spent decades promoting and supporting local musicians with her heart and soul. Now, she'll point us in the direction of the best performances to check out this jazz month and a few best Philly jazz gems. Now, let's go. Miss Kim Tucker, you have really elevated the world, the family, the community of jazz in Philadelphia to a degree where you just got an award. It's called the Jazz Hero. You are now the Jazz Hero here in Philadelphia.
I'm overwhelmed. I'm honored.
Now tell me about your work with Jazz Bridge. You've been doing this for quite a long time.
Most people look at, successful musicians like Stanley Clarke or Herbie Hancock or Terrence Blanchard, that type of thing. And they see that they live in fashionable homes and they drive nice cars and they're on private planes and that type of thing. But behind the scenes, the hard work that goes into putting together a song with a group or producing the band, it takes money. And that money's not always coming. And then it's the expense. Record companies tell you, okay, we're going to front you the money, go in the studio to record. The reality is you have to tour to pay that money back, and it's hard.
And you make sure that things are a little bit easier. Now, let's talk about Philly jazz and blues. I mean, it's some deep stuff.
Philly, I don't know if it's in the water, it's in the food, it's in the air. Maybe it's in the cheesesteaks. I mean, who knows?
The pretzels.
The pretzels. There is something that says in Philly, it's okay to be a musician.
It's almost as though the roots are watered here. You almost can't not sprout something good.
Right. And there are pockets in various neighborhoods. I mean, when you think about South Philadelphia, you're looking at Shirley Scott, Charlie Erlin, the Heath Brothers, Trudy Pitts, and that's just to name a few. But then you go to Germantown and you have Stanley Clarke, Monette Sutler, Bayard Lancaster, and the list continues to grow. And there are places that don't get the same notoriety. When I think of West Philly, I think of two young men who are brothers, Justin Faulkner, Nazir Ebo. They're in the same house. They're playing the drums. They're playing other instruments. And I look at the trajectory of those two young men in that neighborhood. They're traveling the world. But when you look at the history of Philly drummers, Philly Joe Jones, you have Bobby Durham, who was my cousin, and you have Mickey Roker, who was like an uncle to me. And the list goes on. There is something here that says you can do this and do well.
And you're right in the middle of it.
Yes.
I mean, how'd that happen?
Yes, and I got a chance to be a part of their trajectory, the younger ones, but to know the older ones, like, Mickey Roker and Bobby Durham and Edgar Bateman, coming through, having them as my foundation, and hear the road stories and hear what to do and what not to do, so I could pass it down to somebody else and saying, it doesn't have to be this hard.
There's so many wonderful people that came from Philly, but who did you work with that really, truly just felt like, kindred spirits?
There are quite a few, and so it's hard to choose. If I had to, I would probably say Bootsy Barnes. When I turned 21, my mother took me to this little place in West Philly called Cozy's. And on the bandstand was our dear friend and drummer, Butch Ballard. Butch played with Duke Ellington. Duke wrote Caravan for Butch, but it was Sam Dockery on keyboards, Benny Nelson on the bass, and Bootsy Barnes on saxophone. And Bootsy comes in, he says to my mom, "Who's that?" She said, "Oh, that's my daughter, Kim. And you met her, but it's been years." So he sits with me, we strike up conversation. And we're just talking the whole jam session. And he turns, he sees me, and he tells the whole place, "My daughter is here." Now, everybody in the place knows I'm my mother's child. And they're saying it out like, "Oh, man, that's Sue's daughter,"
But you've been adopted.
But I've been adopted. That was the beginning of our relationship.
We're storytellers.
Yes.
We pass it all down.
I have these conversations with musicians like drummer Robert Henderson. And Orrin Evans just turned 50. And like me, he's had that foundation, being around these elders. And the reality is, I see people like saxophonist Josh Lee. He won a Grammy with the Count Basie Orchestra. It's just a little different because now this is another generation. He's 30-something years old. He just won a Grammy.
It's nuts. I mean, the talent that's
Right.
in the youth as well. I mean, again, it's in the water.
You have to celebrate, and you have to show the next 2-3 generations people need to come out and support, or it dies with them. And that's what we have to do as supporters. If I can't be there, talk about it, send somebody else.
I mean, Jazz Month in Philly is
Yes.
really just absolutely off the hook.
Well, there's the Germantown Jazz Festival coming up at the end of the month, with Khadijah Renee is the main person that's put it together. Her work in making that happen, and she's bringing in people like George Cables and Bobby Watson to Germantown at various locations, and I think it's the 25th, 26th, and the 27th of April. There are other artists. I think Joe Plowman, who's a bass player, he's doing something at Attic Brewery, so you can go on their website to check it out. And you can look through Creative Philadelphia, which is through the city, and there's a calendar of events. These events are free and open to the public. It's daytime, nighttime. And then, of course, April 15th at the Settlement Music School, you'll hear Jude Nielsen, the organist, performing. That's at 7 o'clock, Germantown Settlement, 6128 Germantown Avenue, April the 15th. Oh, and I happen to be getting an award that night, too. So, again, I'm humbled.
So you're a trusted name. So if Kim says, hey, this person's of note, you need to book them,
Yes.
they get booked.
Absolutely. We have these younger artists now, like Jack St. Clair was one of the ones that came through the Sunday session at La Rose. He is writing amazing music for big band, and he's got his own big band. And you have Chelsea Reed in the Fairweather 5 or Fairweather 9, and you have Josh Lee, who's doing the Josh Lee and the extended family.
There's no shortage here in Philly,
There's
not
no
for Jazz
shortage.
Month.
They're proving that we're next, and we're looking forward to it.
That's the future.
That's the future. I mean, you have pianist James Santangelo, who was another one that has come through. He's in his early 30s, and he's doing I think, late night at Chris's. He's also at Time. There are not as many places as there used to be, but there are places now to go out to listen to music.
And the promise, those 3 hot spots, we already mentioned Chris's and Time, but you have to know the Black Squirrel. They're great for live music, South Jazz Club, as well as Cellar Dog. Now, we gave you a few extra. And that next generation, what does Kim have to say to them?
As Bob Perkins would say, my finely tuned ears are listening. Okay? Keep it simple. Don't make it so hard, but continue to create. We need to hear your music. Find your own voice.
Because now we can see the future here of jazz is bright. What's that forever thing that you want to leave? That legacy.
I just want people to know that there are genuine people out there that believe, that understand, who may have come through a similar fire that don't talk about it. Remember me as she's the woman who's been in the trenches. She's the person who's educating. And her legacy is reminding people, support artists on any stage. It doesn't matter what the genre, just support the artist somewhere on a regular. And again, if you can't do it, send somebody in your place. Send whoever will go.
Thank you for joining us. Bridging Philly is brought to you by